Welcome to the Dice Tower, a series of video reviews about board and card games. Here are your hosts, Tom Vasel and Sam Healy.
Hey folks, welcome to Miami Dice. I'm Tom Vasel.
I'm Z Garcia. How you doing?
And I'm Sam Healy.
Today we're taking a look at Age of Empires 3, the Age of Discovery board game, or as it was renamed, Glenn Drover's Empires,
the
Age of Discovery.
Right.
But it's essentially the same game.
Yep.
This was based on, when this came out, Age of Empires was a very, very, very popular, I guess it's still popular, computer video game. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess it doesn't matter, this game has almost nothing to do with the video game other than theme.
Right.
The video game was a real-time strategy, build stuff and fight, and that's not really how this game. This game is one of the first worker placement games, and so I realized I've never done a video review of this, so we decided to go back and take a look at it. So let's see how it plays, and we'll be back. Here's the board, which is a very large board, as you can see. Each player has a ton of pieces, but each turn of the game, and turns are marked down here. There's 8 turns, and after turns 3, 6, and 8, there's a scoring phase, and also the era changes. Each turn of the game, though, you're going to get 5 colonists. These are these little guys holding a barrel, and you're going to place them in turn order on the board. You can place them up here in initiative. You can place them in the colonist dock, on these trade goods, here in the merchant shipping, capital buildings, discovery, specialists, and warfare at the bottom. So let's take a look at each of these spots and why you would want to place in them. In initiative, you'll place here, you have to place in order in an initiative. And if purple placed here, he would get 1 coin. By the way, the coins in this game are fantastic. And then maybe the next person would get 2, 3. So the longer you wait, the more you'll get. But if you go here, next time, that will basically move you to the front, so you'll go first on a future turn. So if you want to go first on a future turn, you go to initiative. In the colonist dock, the numbers, there's only spots for 11 people here, which seems like a lot, but with a lot of players, that can run out pretty quickly. In turn order, each colonist here is going to be sent to the New World. Now, when you get sent to the New World, you can only go to a spot that has been discovered. At the beginning of the game, only the Caribbean has been discovered. So on the first turn, everybody who's sent to the New World is going to the Caribbean. The first person to get 3 of their colonists in a region will take the resource token that's in that region. So I would get sugar if I was the first person to have 3 in the Caribbean. The next spot on the board here is trade goods, and you get to, if you go here, you get the trade good that you've taken. Now, the trade goods are a big deal because at the end of each turn, if you have 3 different trade goods, you get a coin. If you have 3 of the same kind, you will get 3 coins, and 4 of the same kind, you will get 4 coins. These numbers that are on the trade goods just show you how many of that kind is in the game. Here in merchant shipping, whoever has the highest number here is going to get this ship. This ship counts as a wild resource. If you go down here to capital buildings, starting from the person who placed it here and going over, each person can pay a certain amount of money, and it depends what era you're in, to buy one of the available buildings for that era. These buildings will do different things. For example, this says captains count as 3 in the discovery box. We'll talk about that in a bit. Here, every turn you get a free soldier in the discovery box. Here, I get a free colonist in the X space. So every turn, when we're putting people out, you'll notice there's an X space. I just automatically get a guy in that, besides the 5 that I start each round with. And missionary, or monasteries here, gives me a missionary. So I would start with 5 colonists and 1 missionary. So you can get multiples of these things, so you'll have more than 5 workers to put out per turn. The buildings get better as the eras go by. In Discovery, you'll be putting groups of people here, and when we get to the discovery phase, you can try to discover a new area over here. You decide how many people, or you send out all the people that you have in the discovery area, and we turn over the tile, and you need to have more than the number of Native Americans shown there. If you do, you will get a victory point. You'll get a coin and 5 victory points on this one. And for each soldier piece that you sent, you'll get 2 extra coins. These can vary as time goes by. And once all the areas here have been discovered, when you discover it, you also get to put one of your guys in there to start it out, and now other people can colonize that area. Once they've all been colonized, you will instead draw from a deck of cards and go to faraway lands, or the Great Lake, or Australia, or circumnavigate the globe. These are worth more victory points, but they also have a lot more Native Americans on them. Then you can go down here. If you go to this spot next turn, you will also, besides your 5 workers, get the specialist. So you'll get a missionary, merchant, soldier, captain, or if you go to this spot, you can pay $5 and take any of those 4 different specialty types. And here you can conduct warfare, which I'll talk about in a moment. But first, we need to talk about the different people who are included in this game. There is a discoverer, there is a missionary, there is a trader, and there is a soldier, and each of them have their uses. The missionary, his main use is sending him to the New World. When he lands in the New World on a discovered spot, he will automatically get another person there. So you can, when you send him, you get 2, which is a big deal. The trader, when you send him to the New World and he lands on shore, you'll get 5 coins. The merchant, I guess, not the trader. Also, when you put merchants into the merchant shipping box, they count as 2 people rather than just 1. Captains also count as 2 people in the merchant shipping box, but another use for the captains is in the discovery area. When you send them out to the New World, they count as 2 also for when you're comparing your numbers to the natives. Soldiers count as 5. Soldiers don't count as anything when you're going to the New World, but they can get you extra money from the tiles that are produced. And they can also fight. If you go to warfare down here, you can pick one spot, and every soldier that you have in the New World will shoot one opposing person. Of course, they'll shoot back at you too. You can also pay $10 to declare war, where you can do that in every territory that you have, where you have people with one other color. You're basically declaring war on one other nation. This will continue. The game will continue and progress from round to round. There are scoring rounds. After each scoring round, we're going to see who has the most people in any given region. Whoever has the most in a region is going to get 6 points. Second place is 2 points. And so those points will be added to any points at the end of the game that you've gotten from discovery tiles, because many of them give points. Some buildings give points. In fact, some of the buildings from Era 3 give a lot of victory points. Like wealth here gives you 1 victory point for every $5 you have. The Navy here gives you 4 victory points for every ship that you have. The mercantilism gives you 1 victory point for every trade good you have. And the prosperity gives you 2 victory points for every capital building you have, these buildings. So there's different ways to score points. Whoever has the most points after 8 rounds is the winner. All right. This game, when it came out, when Age of Empires came out, it was made by Eagle Games, and at this point in gaming history, everybody was like making fun of Eagle Games, right? Because they made these big boards with tons of plastic. They owned a plastic company or something. Right. They made these, and they only used like half the board. Mm-hmm. The rules were not the greatest. I still liked them. Although I think if they came out today, I would not like them as much because I've played so many other maybe better games of those types. Sure. But they were cool. You moved around these armies, but they took a lot of flack. Yeah. Glenn Drover was not looked at as a great designer, and so when this came out, people were like, I don't know. But when I played it, it was like, wow, this is one of the first worker placement games I had ever played, and it blew my mind because there was just so many cool things. It mixed worker placement with area control. It had an interesting worker placement area control thing where you actually put the people like in a queue, and when the first ones to go would go to different places, and then But it also had different style workers. Yep. The missionaries act different than the colonists. Very few games do that. Even now, still. More worker placement games need to do that, I think. Right.
No, absolutely. This game was a revelation. There is no other way around it. Glenn Drover had done, Age of Mythology Attack? And this came out and was a complete just eye-opener. The game... was like nothing he'd done before, you know? And it still is a very, very unique game. Even though the genre has sort of exploded, everybody has made a worker placement game.
Right.
This is still very unique, you know, because of some of
it
those
does.
things.
It does. I mean, yeah, some worker placement games that have recently come out have picked up on that workers do different things. I mean, Manhattan Project does that.
Does have different
to
workers.
where they have different workers
Yes.
and they can accomplish different things in different places. So that kind of hit on it. But this was definitely, you know, like Tom was saying, the first board game that he recognized that did it. And one of the things that really caught my eye was the fact that he had different models for each of those
Right.
of those guys, and they were plastic models. They were good plastic models.
Yes.
They weren't, cheaply made. He, put time in it, used good production materials, and so that's what really made it hit for me. I think was it combined the mechanics and the theme with quality components, not just some wooden meeple.
And one thing that stands out about this game, even still, is that it has to be one of the most thematic worker placement games out there.
Yeah.
The theme and the
Yeah.
mechanics are just really well
Seamless.
integrated. They work perfectly well, and it puts you there. It does do a great job of taking you to its world, telling you its story.
Yep.
Now, even though I love this game, and it's in my top 100 games, and I think it's great, there are a few minor niggling problems. One, the box is not the best quality, and the game is probably a little bigger than it needs to be. That's a very minor problem. Another very minor thing is the models are cool, that they're different, but at a glance, and
They're-
especially not in bad lighting,
They can be indistinct. Yeah.
there's a couple that look very similar. There's the
Right.
captain with the telescope and the soldier with the gun.
Yeah.
Yes.
And sometimes you glance, you're like, oh, soldier. And no, it's actually a captain. That's not a big deal, but it's been mentioned in almost every
Yeah.
game I've ever played.
Sure. Well, there's a couple that I want to pick up on.
Yeah.
One, the score track
Oh, the score
is
track
also
is...
quite bad.
Yeah.
And the graphic design would probably be updated by now. It's a little, you can tell it's a little bit old. It's a
Oh,
little
okay.
bit out of time. But
Game-wise, there is a small thing. Every time I teach this to new people, I have to say, look, don't let one person get all the ships.
Mhm.
That's because if one person gets all the ships, and that can easily happen if you get involved with other things, you're like, oh, okay, whatever, take those ships, they're wilds.
Right.
There are some technology
In
tiles
game,
later on which
in
are just
game.
like, oh, I just won.
Right.
And if you let people know that ahead of time, that's a problem solved. I think the expansion actually helped fix that by having some random technologies.
Right.
There's a minor expansion you can get for this game that I think we actually reviewed. We
Yeah,
did. But that's the one kind of like flaw gameplay wise that I saw, because that those ships are great quality though.
It's not-
Look at these huge
Right,
ships.
right, right.
They're just wild tiles.
It's
you know?
not really a flaw. You just have to make sure people know that that's a possibility. I mean, if you just...
I don't know that there's a way to combat that. If let's say we were playing and Z and I did something and you went after ships, I don't know that we could really combat you in that.
But if you know from the beginning of the game, if you've got to...
Well, right, I would take some ships. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's one of the
it
things
just
you
means
have
the
to
game
do.
has a learning curve, you know.
It
Yeah.
does.
It does.
My favorite part of the game, though, is the little bit of randomized luck in it, and that's when you go on those expeditions.
Yes.
Yeah.
How many guys are you going to send?
Yep.
I'll just send 3 and hope I'm lucky, or you can send 6, and you're like, okay, I got
Overkill.
and then you're like, and there was 2 natives there.
2, right.
But I mean, that's a cool thing of the game. It has a little bit of a push your luck
Thematic,
aspect.
you know,
It's
it's very
thematic, yeah.
thematic, and it does feel like you're pushing your luck, absolutely.
Forging into the woods, you don't know what you're going to find.
Right, right. No, that's a great mechanic.
This game is out of print, but I think it's findable. It's out there. I think if on eBay and such.
Right.
If you come across it, folks, play it. I give this one 2 muskets up. It is an excellent game. It combines theme, but with really strong mechanisms behind it. And it doesn't even. It's not a super long game.
No.
It follows a very structured, easy path, easy
Yep.
to explain, understand. I mean, I said niggling things I have with the game, but the good things so far outshine it. Great game.
What does niggling mean?
Small, little, slightly
Is that a
annoying.
real word, or is that something you just made up?
I think it's a real word.
I've never heard that word before.
The
Okay.
more you know. Go.
I guess so. Yeah. He said if you find it, play it. If you find a copy that you can buy, do it.
Yeah.
You won't regret it, especially if you're a worker placement kind of person. You will not regret buying this game. maybe there will be a little bit of buyer's remorse depending on what kind of price tag you find on it.
It's only $200.
But
Yeah.
as far as gameplay is concerned, you can't go wrong. Of course, don't break the bank to get it, but definitely purchase this if you can.
Okay, I am not as enamored with the game as these two guys. I still like it quite a bit, but I used to own it, no longer own it because there were many other better worker placement games that I liked more. They were a little shorter, a little tighter. And yes, they told a slightly less filled out story. So if you like that idea, you want a meaty game with a good tale to tell, then yes, absolutely, get it.
Age of Empires.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.